The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 45. Golden City. It is difficult to separate my first impressions of Golden City from my feelings at being free at last from Thanos' influence. The ability to sleep without fear of nightmares so vivid that they made me question my sanity, or to rest quietly without experiencing gaps in my memory, was nothing short of intoxicating. For the first time in months, I was genuinely happy, never more so than during the week when Nebula was with me. And despite my patron's insistence that I return to Darkon, I saw no particular need to cut that happiness short by enduring unpleasant company. Especially when it's clear that my mind is now my own, no thanks to you. Even without that general sense of goodwill, I believe my initial opinion of Golden City would have been positive. The people's enthusiasm for their favorite musicians is as infectious as the music itself, and there's a pervasive atmosphere of optimism and cheer. However, it soon became clear that this was a facade. The city struggled to hide its flaws, but it was rotten within, filled with patterns of faults and fears that could not help but be seen. Lord. The Lord. As mentioned, Golden City is defined by the people's love for their favorite musicians. While some residents do harbor the desperate ambition of Cardigans, longing to become musical stars themselves, most are glad simply to bask in the music of their beloved idols. A devotee's passion for their favorite band often crosses the line from mere preference to tribal affiliation or even worship. They might enjoy other music, but their primary loyalty will be to one group, and musicians battle viciously for the ability to influence the hopes and dreams of the populace. In the past, there were two equally beloved bands, Huntrix and the Saja Boys, who shared a message revolving around hiding one's flaws and shame, an ethos that has thoroughly pervaded Golden City. Huntrix, a trio of women, styled themselves as demon hunters in homage to Golden City's monster-ridden past. The Saja Boys, meanwhile, have no unifying theme beyond looking as attractive as possible. When a fire at a joint concert killed several Saja Boys along with Rumi, Huntrix's lead singer, the men's band was able to find replacements. The women were not, leaving the Saja Boys as the uncontested kings of Golden City's musical landscape. Although it is difficult to get anyone to discuss the darker side of life in Golden City, I could read between the lines of the stories told to me about the Saja Boys. Their music intimates a profound connection to listeners they will never meet, and many of their fans have internalized this into a belief that the Saja Boys truly love them. This is unsettling, but may not seem far from a typical relationship to music. How many starry-eyed young people secretly imagined that Harkon Lucas was speaking of them when he sang of enjoying a bella notte with his loved one? However, fans of the Saja Boys seem to mistake this fantasy for a reality. They will do anything for their beloved idols, and it seems that the Saja Boys have taken full advantage of this fact. Rumors persist of devotees who received exclusive access to the Saja Boys only to vanish, sometimes after gradually becoming more isolated and withdrawn from their families, other times simply disappearing without a trace after a single poorly chosen concert. It seems that, as far as the Saja Boys are concerned, there's no difference between admirers and prey. The land. According to legend, Golden City was once beset by violet-patterned demons who sought to feed the souls of the innocent to their master, the archfiend Guima. These demons were banished by a trio of hunters who sealed them away behind a magical border called the Golden Hanmoon, hence the name of the city. Every citizen of Golden City will loudly aver that the Hanmoon has been permanently sealed through the faith and goodness of its people, and that no supernatural evil has haunted them for generations. I was reminded at first of Gravity Falls, but it soon became clear that something far sadder was afoot. Not long after Nebula's departure, I defeated a hellhound-like creature that was stalking an old man in the park, and I warned him to be more careful of his surroundings. In Gravity Falls, he likely would have laughed me off, or perhaps agreed wholeheartedly only to forget the encounter the next day. Instead, he became angry with me for suggesting that he was the sort of man who would weaken the Hanmoon enough to attract the attention of a demon, telling me that if there were any demons in Golden City, I had surely brought them along with me when I came through the mists. I had come in the company of a tiefling, but he had no way of knowing that. The general consensus, it seems, is that no one encounters demons in Golden City, but if anyone ever were to do so, it would be their own fault, but no one ever will. This, of course, creates an atmosphere of shame and secrecy in which no one is able to speak of the supernatural dangers that hunt them on a regular basis. This is not the only way in which shame has pervaded Golden City. I believed at first that the thoughts I had a few days after entering were my own. My mind continually returned to... well, the specifics are unimportant. This is not a magical compulsion like my previous inability to speak of my dreams. I can speak of the thoughts. I simply have no desire to do so. Suffice it to say that after a few days in the city, I found unpleasant ideas creeping into my mind during quiet moments, my own voice whispering to me of my shame and my regrets. Of course, I have more than enough of both, and given how taxing recent events have been, this did not strike me at first as particularly unusual. It was not until I noticed Nebula acting sullen and withdrawn even for her that I thought to ask whether she was experiencing the same thing. I will not know for certain until I leave the domain, but I suspect that this pervasive sense of self-loathing is as much a part of the city as cold is a part of Arendelle. I'm glad that Nebula and I were able to support one another before she left, for memories of trust and camaraderie were among the few things that kept these thoughts at bay. Dread possibilities. The Hellhound was, unfortunately, not my last encounter with monsters. I intervened on a handful of other occasions to save their unwitting quarry, and it was not long before my actions drew attention. I was returning from an interview with Huntrix's sweet-natured former manager when I was ambushed in an alley by a group of ogreish creatures with colorful, mask-like faces. I defeated them, but their numbers had made it a difficult fight, and I had to take a moment to catch my breath, figuratively speaking, before I could leave.
It looks like we aren't the only ones with patterns.
I whirled toward the voice and saw Jinu, the lead singer of the Saja Boys, leaning against the side of the building. His eyes were on my torso. I followed his gaze and felt a flush of shame when I saw that one of the creatures had torn my bodice. Nothing indecent was visible, but my scarred ribcage was. Somehow, that was worse. I hastily used Mask of Many Faces to make my flesh appear smooth and unblemished. You enjoy peeking at women's bare skin?
Always. But it usually isn't so informative. Who bound you?
A sharp, cold stab of horror lanced through the base of my spine. I tried to speak, but could not. Misreading my expression, Jinu smirked.
Did you not know what those were for? Let me guess. You've been sleepwalking? Having nightmares?
I had no need to breathe, and yet somehow it was suffocating. Why were his words affecting me like this? This was more than shame that a stranger could look at me and know I had been a helpless puppet. Why?
I saw you use Eldritch Blast. You're a warlock. Did your patron tell you those were some kind of gift when he put them on you?
In retrospect, it was somewhat refreshing to have someone attempt to play games with me, but misread the board so badly. At the time, however, I could not enjoy it. I somehow managed to find enough breath to speak. Shut up, idiot. Not my most clever rejoinder, but heartfelt. I cast Misty Step and vanished from the scene. The next night, a blue tiger appeared at my door with a note from Jinu. I burned it, unread. Parting thoughts. It has been 2 days since my encounter with Jinu, and I've had time to think. He had seen the purpose of my scars at a glance, and some part of my mind knew immediately what that had meant. He had correctly read the emotions on my face as shock, horror, betrayal, but he could not possibly have known their true cause. You cannot imagine how desperately I have racked my brain for another explanation. I do not want this to be true. I do not want to know this. but there's only one conclusion that's plausible or even possible. I remember how closely you examined my scars in Darkon after I returned from the Boiling Isles, Yensid. I remember thinking that if you had been any other man, I would have worried that your interest in them was lascivious, but I knew that your obvious curiosity was entirely academic. Even though you studied them for some moments, any self-consciousness I felt was that of a creature on a laboratory table. Jinu half-glimpsed my scars, blurred and robbed of their magical auras, and he knew their purpose at once. Am I to believe that you scrutinized them when they were at their full power and thought them to be nothing but souvenirs from the torture chamber? You knew. Thanos tortured me, and then he continued to torture me every night for the better part of a year. He grounded down my will beneath his heel until the best of me was gone, and he forced me to advise him on the most effective means of slaughtering his victims, and in case I did not offer him enough of myself, he also made me counsel him on how to break me entirely, and when I begged you for help, you told me that my nightmares were stress or my wild magic. You implied that all of it came from some defect within me, and all the while you knew. Even after everything, I was still foolish enough to believe that you... I am done with you, Yensid. I am done. You told me that you would give me power, and that you would protect me, and then you allowed him to make me more powerless than the Sanderson sisters ever did. It was bad enough when I thought you simply failed to uphold your end of the bargain. Now I see you chose to break it. You could have made it stop at any time, and you didn't. There is no place for either trust or devotion here, and I will not continue this farce. I am going home. If you desire a report on some other wretched hive of scum and villainy, you can give this commission to whatever new lackey can stomach you until they, too, learn the depth of your lies. Go to hell.
By focusing solely on the pieces, you continually fail to see the board. I never break my word. My protection was never withheld, merely unseen. Nor were you ever in any true danger, Miss Dinny. Otherwise I would have intervened. Of course, it is often easier to lay the blame at the feet of others than to address one's own failings. You sought my tutelage so you could protect your family. However, beneath that guise is your ever-present desire to protect yourself. You wish to no longer be a liability, a helpless soul that someone else must rescue, and you have learned to save yourself. Is that not what you wanted? Ah, but I often forget how young you are, how emotional, how mortal. You wish to withdraw your service? Very well. However, such matters must be settled in the flesh, as it were. You shall find the proper Miss Talisman in your bag of holding. Should this fail to bring you to me, my agents shall escort you here.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at DarklordAslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening. Hello, dear listeners. So, yes, as with Aladdin, there is pretty clearly going to be something connecting this episode to the next episode. I cannot tell you when it's going to drop yet because Aslan Rex himself and I are still working on writing it, but it is going to come between now and next month, and patrons are going to have advance access. Might only be by a day. I don't know. I'm not sure when this thing is dropping, but patrons will have advance access, but everyone will get it before May 13th. Thank you so much for listening, and happy gaming.